Hello, everybody, and welcome to the See You on the Trail podcast, the first ever podcast and the first ever in 2019. My name is Hitch, and I'll be taking care of you today and letting you know everything in the off-road racing industry. Seeyouonthetrail@gmail.com. I receive every single one of them. I'll go through them. I will reply to you every single time. Next one, our big one, Facebook. Facebook, we have over 7,000 likes on Facebook, which I'm proud to say are completely organic. And if you comment or send us a message on Facebook, I will be sure that I'll get back to you within the hour. Next, Instagram. We do have an Instagram. We're not really big in Instagram yet. We're still learning about it. And then the next, our YouTube channel has over 150 videos, all the way from the Mud Nationals down there in Jacksonville to Ultra 4 to Dirt Riot to sections that are just interviews where we get to actually talk to some of the racers, which is what I'll be doing later in this podcast. Now, also check out our Twitter. Our Twitter is basically pretty mild compared to a lot of Twitters. We don't do a lot with it, but we're working on to grow it. Now, to let you know a little bit about the history of See You on the Trail, which is SYOTT as a hashtag. We started back in 2007. We started at a place called Big M, or Cassville, Missouri. Cassville, Missouri has a place called Big M, which has an area of the Mark Twain National Forest where we can actually go wheel, and it's completely 100% legal. We went there. I started cutting my teeth. I've got a little Jeep, a little 89 YJ. It started out on 33s with a 2-inch body lift. It now has a 4-inch lift on it with 48 gears, spooled rear, true track front, and it's something that I enjoy doing. I need to replace the motor in it. I'm getting there. It's a slow process. But I started out there, and then I started going to a place called S'more. S'more is short for Southern Missouri Off-Road Ranch. Southern Missouri Off-Road Ranch is located about 40 miles east of Springfield, Missouri. It is probably one of the most premier parks I've ever been to. They have bathhouses, the shower houses, snack bar, cabins. They've got a whole bunch of apparel. I know Brandon Powell personally, which I will have him on the show in the near future. We're all going to do just a quick podcast, a phone interview, talking about what they have available out there. They've got full service hookups, a dump, and then 930 acres of unreal stuff to wheel. I've been out there. I haven't been out there in, I would say, 3-4 years, but they've created so many more trails. But when I was there back in the day, man, they had a crap ton of trails to run. So you need to check out S'more. It's s'more.net. Real easy to catch up with. But anyway, that's where I started out. In 2012, let's go back a little bit. In 2010, I was able to go to SEMA with Derek West. Got to get my first taste of the off-road industry. Got to see exactly what it was all about. And then he invited me to the 2011 KOH. I went to 2011 KOH and was blown away. And just so you know, KOH means King of the Hammers. Now, I was blown away, loved it, and I'll never forget my first trip there. And anyway, and then in 2000, I traveled with Derek for a couple years. In 2013, let's go back again. In 2012, I actually won a contest with the guy by the name of the voice of King of the Hammers, Mr. Miles Hasselquist. Me and Miles and one other guy, which I haven't heard from in years, we actually, all three of us, won a contest that we actually got to announce King of the Hammers. And we were supposed to be pit reporters, is what it came out to be, but we actually ended up sitting right up there with Camo, Tech Tim, Jesse Combs, and we announced the race, and we had a great time. It was so fun. We enjoyed it. And then in 2012, I ended up actually being with Tech Tim 4 out of the 5 days announcing the main races. We spent 8-10 hours on the stage We loved it. We actually got to see what was going on inside of everybody. As far as the production wise, the production was just unreal. We were doing, which something I didn't know I did, but it was one of the first of its kind that we were able to produce a off-road race live for the internet so they could watch it live time, real time, with numerous cameras, and we were able to cover 200 miles of race course. It's something that it's never been done before, and now it's been done numerous times with the situation. So anyway, I did that in 2012. 2013, 2014. I was also a pit reporter there. I did that, and then in 2013, I decided to take on something that was a little bit different. I decided to put on my own race. And the race that I put on was Buzz to the Red Dog. It was in 2013. It was the first, and I believe the one and only of its kind, where we did 2 different races in 2 different parks in 2 days. It was a great time. We gave out over $10,000 in winnings, and we also we had over 1,000 people to watch. And if you've ever been to these 2 places, one was in Sayre, one was in Altus. This is not big time areas where there's a lot of people. People drove to come see this. And then we had a big concert at the end on Saturday. It was great. Anyway, we did that in 2014 as well. And that's basically the history of me. And now what I do is I'm the race sports director for the Unlimited Off-Road Expo. I take care of all of the demonstrations and ride-alongs that they have with the race cars at all of the Unlimited Off-Road Expos. This includes the Dallas one, this includes the Atlanta one, the Nashville, Louisville, all of them. I take care of all those. So if you get a ride in an off-road race car, I'm the one that planned it and got everybody out there. So that's kind of what I do now. And then I also take care of See You on the Trail. Whereas I'm just a social media moderator. I look at all this stuff and enjoy what I do. So to give you guys a little bit of the schedule coming up, I'm planning on doing a podcast every 2 weeks. If it gains more traction, then I will continue to do more. Maybe I can bring it down to 1 a week. We'll see how this goes. And then the next thing for me that I will be going out of town for is April 6th and 7th. I'll be at Texas Motor Speedway for the Unlimited Off-Road Expo in Fort Worth, Texas for the Racers Lounge. I've got some rock bouncers. I've also got some Ultra 4 guys that are going to come out. They're going to give some rides. They're going to do some demonstrations. They're going to burn off tires for a Turo tire, which is really cool. I love having a Turo tire on board because we can leave all the tires there at the track. We don't, in other words, we leave them on the concrete. So anyway, the next one is May 3rd and 4th. We will be in Nashville, Tennessee for the next Unlimited Off-Road Expo. Doing the same thing, just enjoying ourselves, burning off tires, demonstrating what these Ultra 4s and what these rock bouncers can do with all the high horsepower. Next will be the June 14th. I'll be in Davis, Oklahoma for the Holly EFI Clash of the Crossbar. I don't know if I'll be doing media there, but I'm going to try and squeeze in a podcast there. We have yet to figure out all the details on that. But let's go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about King of the Hammers 2019. It started out, if you don't know about King of the Hammers started out in 2007 with a bunch of friends, and they went out to Johnson Valley to the Hammer Trails, and one guy said, I'll bet you a case of beer you can't do all the Hammer Trails. If you do, you get a case of beer. Well, that was considered the OG 13. Now, the funny thing is that there's actually only 12. And the OG 13, I'm not sure where the 13th guy came from. But some of the OGs are still a part of the Facebook, or not on the Facebook, but they're part of the club still, and still part of King of the Hammers itself. Now, when I say IFS, I mean independent front suspension, and then a solid axle rear, or a live axle rear, which is something that I need to get Tech Tim on the show and talk to him about it. He's going to tell me the difference between a solid axle versus a live axle. But neither here nor there. Let's keep going. Now, winnings have always, the people that win, there's always been the controversy saying that solid axle wins in the rocks and loses in the desert, or IFS wins in the desert, loses in the rocks. Well, what is your opinion? To explain IFS a little bit more, IFS basically says, and it doesn't say this, it actually tells you that it can independently flex on the left or the right hand side without having the other side react to it. So that helps you in desert and also in rocks. I will tell you this. Now, if you have a solid axle car, you're going to have a reaction whenever you go up on a rock on the right hand side. You're going to have a reaction to the left hand side. Now, with IFS, that is not going to happen. Now, IFS has basically proven themselves, I would say, 60% of the time. Now, while they were still being perfected in the past few years, they weren't winning. Eric Miller, Derek West, Randy Slauson, those guys were still pulling out solid axle wins. Now, the new thing that's coming on this year, and I believe the last few years, is an IFS IRS, which means that independent rear suspension is now a thing. Now, can't say that they proved themselves yet because they're still being developed, but it's an awesome thought and an awesome car. I believe the first guy to ever do IFS IRS is Chris Conklin, and he did that in 2015, if I remember right. But his belly height did not work, and so the next person to do that was Cody Wagner. And now this year they have Cody Wagner, the Gomez brothers, Jordan Pellegrino, and I believe that's all that have the IFS IRS. And so, what is your thoughts on it? Do you guys think that that IFS IRS is going to start dominating? Are they going to start dominating KOH and all the other races? I will tell you this, that the IFS, as far as I'm concerned, the IFS has proved itself to be a winner at KOH and also in all the short course races. Do you really think that solid axle is even a proven deal anymore, or is it just is it gone to the wayside? It's not worth it anymore. You got to go ahead and spend your money. I do know back in the day, a solid axle car would go for $60,000-$80,000. And an IFS car, just the front end, was $30,000 to be able to build. That's why the solid axle car was so prominent, because it was cheaper. But now they're getting into that aspect where money's somewhat not even an issue anymore. Now, tell me what you think. I literally put it in the comments below. Tell me what you guys think, and we'll go from there. Now, the winner of the 2019 King of the Hammers was Jason Shearer. Now, Jason Shearer is a 3-time champion, and let's not go back and talk about this too much, but he was also a back-to-back champion. So he won 2018 and 2019 in the same car, the IFS car. He actually took that car and made it a 2-seater. It used to be a 1-seater. Now it's a 2-seater. Did he deserve to win? As far as I'm concerned, hell yes. He deserved to win. He enjoyed it. He is one guy that I know that he takes his family and his business a lot more serious than his racing. And so sometimes he just comes out just to race, which I enjoy and I love about Jason Shearer. Don't know Jason Shearer personally. I do know his brother pretty well, but as far as I'm concerned, he is a class act guy. I'm very proud of him. And the great thing is, he actually won $65,000. This is the first year they've ever had $100,000 up for grabs. He got $65,000, and then it was split up. I don't know for sure if it was split up amongst the top 10 or the top 5. I don't know how that actually ended up working. But $100,000 to KOH winners, more power to you. Very proud, very excited about it. Now let's also talk about one of the prior kings, Randy Slauson. Randy Slauson had some problems. He ended up blowing a transfer case, trying to get it replaced, and then it ended up stuck on the short course, right there at one of the turns. I watched on the live feed, and that made me think back to 2015. He actually won KOH, but was also they filed a red card, and I'm not going to tell you who filed it, but you guys, I'm assuming that if you're listening to this podcast, you know who filed it. He actually accidentally roosted another competitor while they were trying to change a transfer case, and in the remote pits, they filed a red card on him. And the funny thing is that the red card just kind of disappeared. It actually got pulled back. I don't know if it was actually the person that filed the red card that pulled it back, or if it was the promoters that did that. But I kind of find it, karma's gonna get you is the best way I could say it. I'm sorry to see that Randy wasn't able to finish this year, but just something that I noticed, just something I shouldn't actually probably talk about, but oh well. I told you guys this was going to be cringy. Anyway, I've pissed off numerous people in this industry, and I'm sure I'm going to piss off more with this podcast. So it is what it is. But anyway, where are we going to go for this? Guys, do you want more of this podcast? I got interviews. I have interviews with people that have never been on a podcast before. In fact, everybody that I've talked to, they're like, well, I've never been on a podcast. How do I do this? And I was like, all you got to do is get on the phone with me, and we have a good old bitch session. Just something, just a shoot the shit session, to where we can talk about it. And we're going to talk about tech. We're also going to talk about racing. We're going to talk about off-roading. Just to give you guys a sample of who I have on the books to be able to do an interview with. First one off, which I'm really excited about, I talked to him about 2 days ago, and he said, absolutely, I want to do a podcast. I want to enjoy myself, and I want to talk about everything that happened at King of the Hammers. And the first one is Levi Shirley. Levi Shirley, I've been friends with since I started doing King of the Hammer stuff, and that was in 2011. That was back, I believe he was like 16, 17 years old back then. Got to know him, know his dad well. We're not too far away from each other. I've done a couple interviews with him, and so this one's going to be really cool. He's a guy that's he's grown up in the industry, so it'll be really cool to see him. I've also got I'm going to sit down with, of course, Tech Tim, Mr. Tim Lund. He's with Northridge 4x4, and also does some other stuff, other riding and everything like that. And he's also the technical guy. He's the guy I call whenever I need something, technical information. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk with him. Next, Brandon Powell from Southern Missouri Off-Road Ranch. We're going to sit down and talk to him. We're going to figure out what makes that park tick and what's so good about it. Next is Artec Industries, Armando from Artec Industries. We're going to sit down and talk to him about all what he's got going on as well. Next will be, who else do we have? Casey Shearer. side-by-side racer. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't like the side-by-sides, but it is a growing in the industry. We're going to need to kind of grasp it and get used to it, because it's coming up in the industry, and the go-karts are coming. They're doing well. Let's see, who else do I have? We also have Chad McDonald from Green Country Off-Road. He builds some of the most premier off-road vehicles that are trail riding buggies. I don't know if you've ever seen Juggy out there. They call it Juggernaut, or Mouth Breather, or gosh, there's so many of them that he has built that have been premier. The most recent one, I believe, is the Green Country Off-Road built orange buggy. It's an orange YJ, and it is just awesome. And Orange Hammer is what it's called. We're gonna have Chad on the show to talk about that. At this point, guys, we're only gonna do an audio podcast until it gains some traction. Then once it gains traction, then we will start doing video stuff. I think we're going to try to do a video podcast at the Texas Motor Speedway. But after that, we'll go from there and see what actually works out. So I want to remind everybody, next podcast is going to be in 2 weeks. And don't forget, guys, make sure you go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See You on the Trail. No spaces, just See You on the Trail. Spell it out. You can contact me at seeyouonthetrail@gmail.com. Look us up on YouTube, See You on the Trail. And we're on Twitter as well. So thank you very much for watching. This is just a rambling video. This is just something letting you guys know what we have going on and what we're expecting out of this podcast. And hopefully this goes over well, and we'll continue to do it longer. So thank you very much. My name is Hitch, and we'll see you on the trail.